Everybody, today I am Christ, I am disciple. You're watching my channel. If you like what you see, you can like, share, subscribe. You can also donate via PayPal. The link is in the description. But in addition to that, this feature is brought to you by LIVE Products. Live now, and we are live now. And we have a list of LIVE products I just want to show you really quickly. So we have the LIVE cleaning products from excuse me, from your right to your left. We have the liquid detergent, fabric softener, disinfectant, and we also have washing dishwashing liquid. Okay, we also have LIVE drinks, natural fruit drinks. We have fruit punch, orange juice, Morbi, sorrow, grapefruit, and orange. So you guys can always check out LIVE products. If you live in the Trinidad area, you can place your order. Now, because we know what time of the month it is where money is scarce, we're going to actually do a promotion. And this promotion goes like this. If you buy 10 items, the minimum of 10 items, right, you will get 2 of the items free. That is in terms of the drinking products. Okay. And you also, if you buy any 10 items, so whether it be you buy the cleaning products or whether you buy the drinks, any 10 items that you purchase, 2 will be free out of the 10. All right. Let's get on with the business at hand, which in this case is going to be talking about what is happening with Warner Brothers, what is happening with Warner Brothers, and also we're going to talk politically about what is transpiring politically. So let's get first into the latest news, which is that Warner Brothers Discovery, according to Deadline, it looks like they're actually thinking about splitting back into their original parts, so that Warner Brothers Discovery will now be Discovery again and Warner Brothers Pictures. They're considering that. And that's very interesting. It seems as though they're not getting any investors to actually purchase into their company. And so I left some comments on that. The article's in Deadline. You can click the link in Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter at Answer Philip, hashtag Free Palestine, hashtag Rebel Moon. All right. And I think my Twitter handle is at AEPGM46. So you can check that out. I made a suggestion. I said the best that Warner Brothers Discovery and Warner Brothers Pictures could do is put Zack Snyder Justice League in IMAX and restore the Snyderverse. This can be salvaged, but this is the measure that must be taken. And no short week in the cinema. No, a full-fledged run this year. I also, as you see, included several people in there. There is something else additionally I want to speak about in terms of information. So let me see if I can find it. It's a little bit lower down. It's interesting how finally voices of reason are coming out. Viggo Mortensen, who is known for that really highly acclaimed DC movie, which is called A History of Violence. If you guys haven't seen that, it's a movie that came out in 2006, I believe. The DC movie did very well. It was nominated for several Academy Awards as well. Viggo Mortensen, who also played Highlander, for those, I believe he played Highlander. No. Viggo Mortensen actually played in, Lord of the Rings. He was one of the kings in Lord of the Rings, that's right. Okay, anyway, he said, what passes for critical thinking in terms of reviews is pretty poor these days. And Margaret Molly Raspberry, who I'm not really familiar with, said he's not wrong. Many YouTubers and influencers are reviewing films without any prior knowledge of the history of the art form or how filmmaking is done. I believe most critics should understand film terms such as knowing the difference between pan and tilt, etc. So we kind of know that from a while back. We have a lot of people who review films, and they mostly give their emotional response rather than some sort of objective medium, and they use a lot of adjectives when they're doing the reviewing. And most of them can't tell you the story. You know, the first thing you're supposed to do in the review is outline what the story is so that people would know what you're critiquing. How effective was the story? How effective was the relaying of the story? But that's not what goes on these days. All right, and then you have to always know the genre that you're in and all of that kind of stuff. So they don't really, you know, it's really very amateurish what they do today. Okay, there's one more thing I wanted to share with you guys, but first, oh yes, this is it here. Yeah, we do need to go into this. So, Media Nerd covered this, and I just want you guys to hear this because I know some of you have already heard this already, but still, I want to cover this, so I'm going to cover it right
A lot
now.
of Diet Coke,
Let me turn up the
a
volume
lot
a
of
little bit.
Post-it notes, like the Post-it notes. But they were
Okay, this was an
this
interview
massive baggie.
with
Looked
Zack
like
Snyder and the
looked
Russo
like
brothers, and he was talking
looked
about
like a
Chris
drug
Terrio.
dealer. Looked like a. And Chris is a really incredible writer, and he's very beautifully manic in his style. I remember he had like a lot of Diet Coke, a lot of Post-it notes, like the Post-it notes. But they were in this massive baggie. It looked like he looked like a drug dealer. It looked like like a kilo of cocaine or something, like in his bag. He pulled it out, and I was like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's the Post-it notes." And then he started to try and
Putting it back up?
Yeah, but it was so it was very, and it's all like Yates quotes and like it's all coolly bizarro. Like none of it, like you can't look at the Post-it notes and go like, "Oh, cool, this is a note for the first act, like a line of dialogue." That's
Like,
cool.
this goes first.
No, it's completely like I go, I don't even know what this is amazing. Like this, someone make a book out of this. Forget the movie.
And it's thematics and it's things that are relevant to
it's all
the given scene. Yeah.
Each Post-it note is incredibly interesting. Like there's no throwaway note. There's no Post-it note that just says like, don't forget to this.
That's
Every
awesome.
single one of them, I'd be like,
Whenever you get stuck, you could just turn to one.
It
Just
kind
pick
of
one up.
what it is. It's kind of like becomes this source of like insane inspiration, but all of it's thematic to the thing we're working on. So it's a bizarro process. And Chris is a really incredible writer, and he's
Okay.
very, very.
So Zack Snyder just casually, because Zack Snyder likes to do that, he just casually name drops Robert Yates. For those of you who don't know who Robert Yates is, and first of all, and he's talking about quotes from Robert Yates, by the way. Now, I'm gonna blow some of you guys' minds on who Robert Yates is, and some of you who are Republicans, particularly, going to really vibe with this. And some of you who are Democrats will kind of vibe with this, but I just want to kind of go through Robert Yates for you guys, just to give you a little glimpse of how deep Chris Terrio went with this thing. First of all, you guys know that Chris Terrio did the famous line. He did a sort of he did a copying and imitation. Oh, you know what? Don't worry, I'm gonna get to that in a minute, but. First of all, who is Robert Yates? Some of you know, some of you don't know. Let's get to it. Robert Yates was an American politician, attorney, jurist, and surveyor. As a delegate representing New York at the Constitutional Convention in 1778, Yates is considered a founding father of the United States. This is Wikipedia, but nonetheless. Best known as the leader of the anti-federalist movement, he was the presumed author of political essays published in 1778 to 1788 under the pseudonyms Brutus and Sidney. The essays opposed the Constitution based on the scope of the national government and the diminished sovereignty of states. Yates also served as the Chief Justice of the New York Supreme Court from 1790 to 1798. Okay, let's just take a big gulp out there. So Chris Terrio goes to this guy, Robert Yates. Now, for those of you who don't know, Robert Yates was one of the sort of scribes or secretaries that was covering the notes for the then what is known today as the secret constitutional committee meeting that happened, consultation in Philadelphia. Now, there was another gentleman named Madison who We got notes from him as well. Robert Yates is extremely important today because Robert Yates' presumptions were that a constitution under a republic cannot hold or stand if the federal government is controlling the laws and legislature of the individual states, because there's a balance in it, but the individual governing states should have their own autonomy to govern themselves. Why? Because the different people in the different states may behave differently and therefore need different laws to govern them. And he felt like that would be threatened by a federal government that had too much power. His problem wasn't the federal government. His problem was a federal government with too much power that does not represent the people in the individual states. He was worried that the power of the people would be surrendered to someone who could manipulate the representatives of the people. Isn't that crazy? Because that's what's happening today. Okay, so when the Russo brothers are like, oh, wow. And Zack Snyder just kind of just name drops Robert Yates real casually. Real casually. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about, you can go look into Robert Yates a little bit more. I suggest you do so. Do your homework and research on Robert Yates, because what I just told you is so much. Because okay, if you look at the Supreme Court that's giving unlimited powers right now to the President of the United States, that he cannot be convicted of crimes, he cannot be put in prison. Then guys like George Bush get off they get a pass. Barack Obama gets a pass. Mr. Biden gets a pass. Everybody gets a pass. Who's the president? Past or future. And that is not in line with the Constitution of the United States of America. Every man is created equal, it is said. No man is above another man. So why would you take someone who's the president of the United States and put him above a common worker who would be convicted of crimes, but the president can't be convicted of crimes? So let me suffice it to say, Robert Yates was there in 1787, and he was there doing some of the minutes, his own account of what was happening when the Constitution was being formed, or should I say amended, in Philadelphia. He did leave the meetings eventually. He didn't agree with what was going on and he left. All right, so you can get the transcript of that meeting. It's in several archives and several journals. Now, this is important because at least what used to be the core belief of Republicans was that the federal government must not get too much power, that the individual states should be allowed to govern themselves because they already have legislature and judiciaries to govern themselves. The Supreme Court was not supposed to be something which decreed laws for every individual state. Individual states should have, there should never be a law, a federal law, that supersedes the laws within each state, because each state has people it represents. And if the people in that state do not agree with the federal law, they should be allowed to carry out the laws that they think are fit. You see. So it is that tension that Robert Yates, he believed that the way how the Constitution was being done, he was against that. Okay. All right, so You guys can go ahead and check it. He has very valid arguments, and he puts them forward in the form of Brutus and Sidney. You guys go check that out. I'm not going to say no more on that, but yes, Chris Terrio actually delved into that, and it's very interesting. Okay, and you guys, when you watch BVS now, you have to watch BVS through the eyes of someone who's an anti-federalist, who sort of decentralizes power. So there's a central power, but then there's decentralization of power to offset the exploitation of power being in one place. So you have local governments for a reason. You have state governments for a reason. These state governments and these governors, which have governors, they're important because in case there's some sweeping law that's probably illegal or something that's exploitive to the people or doesn't benefit the people but benefits special interest, the states could override that. That's what's supposed to happen, but it doesn't always work out that way, and this is the problem with the federal government. And we know for a fact today the federal government is not working. Most of the time it's not working in the public's interest, in the interest of people in individual states. In fact, the problem is systemic. We even have the local state governments not working in the interests of the people of the state. And we're going to go into all of that in this stream. So we have a lot to cover, and hopefully you guys will benefit from this stream that I'm putting out here right now. And we'll go into all of that as much as we can. Don't forget to smash the like button, and we keep it moving. So Nick said that Chris Terrio went full schizo writing that script just for some random motherfucker to say, yeah, well, Superman isn't smiling enough, and he laughs with poison emoji. All right. I know what he means. Of course, Chris Terrio did not go schizo. He's not schizophrenic. But I guess a lot of people don't understand what Zach was saying. Zach was saying that, Chris Terrio was so lit up with ideas and lit up from pulling different sources to put into the superhero movie that he was saying, it's just how Chris was going was just incredible. So the red capes are coming. The red capes are coming. For those of you who don't know, that's actually a quote from what was thought to be the alert. When a watchman was riding on his horse saying, the red coats are coming. The red coats are coming. Alerting the then settlers and civilians to the British coming to attack the people, and the people arm themselves. There's a reason why the right to bear arms is still a very important right, constitutional right by citizens in America, because America was formed through civil disobedience and therefore through a war against England, in which they won. And then again, America was shaped by the Civil War of the 1800s, in which there was a fight to stop slavery, stop the business of slavery in the North or the South. So there's a number of times when the civilians rose up against the government. Not always have the civilians and the governance, whether, because the people came to the shores of America were British, the Queen wanted to take possession of, America, but the people who came there, they resisted. And then again, we had these people again resisting governance and the government and having a civil war because of slavery, which they wanted to be abolished, and then wanted, it's mostly financial reasons, but what was to happen to people of color, etc. So America kind of evolved and moved along due to the right to bear arms. And this is why it's a very precious thing in American society. And a lot of people, again, on the right, really don't like people messing around with it. Again, of course, the laws vary from state to state concerning regulation of arms, particularly licensed arms. And in some states, they open carry. Some states, you can't do that, and so on and so on. So And then you have, of course, the institution known as the Rifle Association of America, right? RAF. And again, it is a good association to some degree. It's just that lobbyists, when you have these lobbyists influencing politics, it really kind of messes up the politics because there's how far can they go? They can go as far as they want. There's no limit on how much they can donate to, how much they can bribe, because they're bribing, the bribe politicians and so on. That can corrupt politicians and that can really erode society. Particularly in Washington, D.C., that more happens, even though it does happen also on the local level, the state level, but it's more on the federal level you get this kind of atrocity happening. And this is what, you see, Robert Yates was wary of, that capitalism would corrupt the system. And by looking at Rome, by looking at other ancient civilizations that abided under a republic, all of those republics collapsed because of corruption. And so we're seeing almost the same thing happening again with the United States of America. And that's why it's so crazy that Chris Terry even said that, or even, brought up Robert Yates' name. It showed how deeply he was thinking about the politics and about humanity at the same time. So politics is supposed to be a reflection of humanity, and it's supposed to be represented, especially a democracy, a republic that's based on a democracy, based on representation, is supposed to represent the people. And if the voice of the people is not heard anymore, it's all over. And that's what Jill Stein was saying. And I don't know if she has the strength of character to implement that, but that's just why I speak about Jill Stein so much. Which carries me back up to this point up here. I know I'm going to go back to Warner Brothers and Discovery in a minute. I have something else I want to say about that. Dr. Jill Stein said this, and if you guys look at my cover picture, it's Jill Stein, okay? And Jill Stein's logo, or photo logo, whatever you want to call it, is people, peace, and I can't remember the other P. It's 3 P's. Maybe I can find it. Let me see if I can look for it right now. I don't know. I may find it. I may not find it. You guys probably don't know what her logo is. Let me see if I can find it here. Maybe I find it, maybe I don't. Okay, it's here. People, planet, peace. All right. So basically it's a full circle of balance. She's kind of, now Jill Stein's a Jewish person, believe it or not. I'm not saying the Green Party is a party that's very diverse. Okay. But bottom line is it's focused on people. It's focused on our planet and preserving our planet and keeping a balance in our planet. And it's focused on anti-war. It's more about peaceful negotiation, peaceful means. I think these are things that we all aspire to. We want to see the planet survive. I think every single person wants to do that. How we go about doing it is an important part. We all want people to be comfortable and happy and live comfortable and happy. I just think that's something everybody believes in. And we all want peace. We don't really want wars and stuff. I mean, those people who want wars is because they can benefit from the wars, but it's not necessarily that they want war. If they could do things and make money, as much money as they're doing without war, I guess they wouldn't want to, do war. They'd experiment with their weapons. I think they want to know what their weapons could do, right? They'd experiment with their weapons I always said, one of the greatest things these people could do is war games. Kind of like the Colosseum, kind of like Gladiator. You have your war games in a controlled environment. You find somewhere in the world to do your war games, and you do your war games against each other, and you just experiment with your weapons. If people sign up and it's a dangerous thing, so somebody dies, well, okay, you signed up for it. You know what I mean? That way you can keep yourself sharp, test out weapons and stuff, make money selling weapons and stuff like that, because that seems to be the thing they like to do, and continue on like that. Have a place, a venue, and a time to do these things. I don't know why the military complex feels you have to be in a real war and kill a whole set of people. I just don't get that point. You know, have a controlled environment, have your war games. But I think we have too many. I'm just going to share with you a couple things from Jill Stein. I really vibe with her vibe. You know, because Cornel West hasn't spoken negatively about the Green Party. He says he's still for the Green Party and all of that. He says he doesn't personally had some interactions with Jill Stein and other people, and he's turned off from it, right? But he still supports the party. Jill Stein said, forget the lesser evil, meaning between Biden and Trump. You know, some people are arguing that Trump is the lesser evil. Some people are arguing that Biden's the lesser evil. Okay, why don't you fight for the greater good like your life depends on it? Because it does, Jill Stein says. All right? Now, I'm not the biggest Jill Stein fan. Let me just make that abundantly clear. But the way how conditions are, because I don't agree. I'm going to tell you right now, I do not agree with her position on the LGBTQ community. However, the pushback on that through the Republican Party, I don't agree with either. Okay? I don't agree with necessarily how some people are too liberal with abortion rights, meaning, you know, I'm just talking my points of view here, so you can see I don't agree with everything that Jill Stein's saying and our party. I don't agree with no abortion, period. Make sure make sure that no tools are there to have them. Somebody has a stillbirth, stillbirth inside of them. You gotta abort. You gotta abort that. The baby's dead. Okay, he's not gonna come back. Okay, you gotta abort. There's actual right now local laws that have been passed in certain states already, preventing people from having operations to remove stillbirths. That's ridiculous. That's going to the next extreme. The whole point was to preserve the child. Now, if you have a parent and a child, you have to pick one to survive, the parent or the child. Okay? And you have this extreme abortion rule where the parent has a greater chance of surviving than the fetus that the parent is carrying. Okay? Then you induce an abortion so that the one that has the best chances of survival survives. And so these are things where now, if you just blanketly say, no abortion, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I hear a lot of people talking and saying this is ridiculous. And it's right. Okay, there are times when abortion is necessary. Again, this transgender rights thing. Okay, the left went ridiculously wild with the transgender thing. And even to this day, they're pushing it in TVs and all that stuff. I'm not necessarily against transgender, meaning transgender is where someone changes their gender. Okay? Some people, they don't change their gender, they amend their gender to become something that society says they should be. So some people, they have both secondary and primary attributes of male and female. They're both sexual organs, okay? And it's not about, you know, and maybe later on they say, okay, I'm really male, or they realize they're male and they go that way, or they realize they're female and they go that way. But not always is that the sense. Some people are just born that way. What are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? And so no one seems to consider these people. So that's why I said transgender things are not straightforward for us to discuss. I don't care. I'm a Muslim. I'm a Christian. I said I'm a Muslim because Muslims are intolerant of that. Some of them. I can't tell nobody nothing. I'm not in their shoes. I wasn't born like you. You know what I'm saying? So I can't comment on that because I don't know what that's like. And that can be an identity crisis for someone. But that's how you were born. What are you gonna do about it? You know what I'm saying? So there are those people. I know some of them personally. So you can't, again, try to ban all transgender rights, blah, 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 and you know, banning this and calling it some sort of dysfunction and some kind of illness or something. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. God made that person that way. It's just like, you know, some people are born They call it dyslexia. Zack Snyder has dyslexia. But it's not an illness. Dyslexia is not an illness. It's a different way of thinking. And just the same, some people are born the way they're born. And it's just society tries to force people to conform into certain things which they naturally are not. So that's why if someone takes a surgery, they lived all their lives and they're not male, okay? And they have a surgery, they become female, and they're comfortable in their skin from there on in. I can't be mad at them. They're not natural born females because they weren't born that way. But I externally that is, but internally, and then we can go into the genetics of why some people are the way they are genetically. You know, they are female, but externally their phenotype is male, or sometimes genetically they look genetically they're male, but their phenotype is female. It happens. All right, so you have to watch out for those things. You have to watch out for the. That's why it's not as straightforward as people try to make it, and we cannot just blanketly, like the right wants to do right now. Just okay, we're gonna cut everything. It's an illness, and we have to call it an illness or it's a demon inside that person. No, nobody got no demon. It's just what it happened. It happened that way. Life happens like that, and I think these are discussions that religious people grapple with, but I don't think it's a big deal. It's like in nature, these things happen too. And nature handles it how it handles it. And like I said before, God has a way of speaking through nature. So why don't you just look at nature and see how nature handles that situation, you know? And that's the thing that I think a lot of people, they have problems with. And we always want to make laws and stuff to regulate and control people when we probably naturally people would just be about their business and not make a big deal out of certain things. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, it's up to the individual states, and that's why I said federal laws over certain things, I think are just way, personal things which really involve individuals. There shouldn't be federal laws for those. Federal laws, maybe you have some local laws on certain things, but again, the local laws should be broad in certain respects. Okay, we don't want anybody stealing from anybody, so that's a law. We don't want anybody killing anybody, especially killing anybody, and you're not doing it out of self-defense. So you have laws for that, right? But personal things like what I want to wear today and what I want to be entertained by, or where I want to go, that should not be regulated by anyone. Similarly, if I want to have children or don't want to have children, that's my choice. I shouldn't be regulated by any institution or any organization. I shouldn't be regulated by my identity as a person. Nobody should be telling me, oh, you need to be this or you need to be that. That's my choice, how I want to be as an adult. I can't say for a child, but over time, the child will be able to know, and as an adult, they can make the decision. Maybe a crappy childhood because of so many stereotypes that we put upon people. But if you let people just naturally go about their business, everything will be resolved. People naturally resolve problems. It's weird. Nature is so superior to all of these artificial constructs that we put in the way. If we just lived in harmony with nature, we would find a way to just deal with situations and just deal with people as people. And it's so funny how these things can be resolved so easily, but we complicate them by talking about certain laws and certain laws and certain laws, when in fact, the laws, the natural laws that God has put down would deal with these things very easily and very simply. That's what I want to say. But anyway, Jill Stein. And so there's a number of things I like about the Green Party and Jill Stein, and I guess Cornel West saw the same thing, and I think Bernie Sanders saw the same thing, and several other people saw the same thing. And I think the people who actually will vote for Jill Stein this election will see the same thing. That it's all, what comes first is humanity, people, and then what comes second, doesn't come second, it's equally as important, is harmony. Not just between people, but between people and the planet, and therefore you get peace because you have harmony. And she says, people, planet, peace over profit, which is for real. That's real talk right there. It's real talk right there. If you're a business person in a local small community, a small businessman, you understand this. Okay. So I think I've been quite political when I should be really going back to some other things, but I just wanted to relay that. I think that's very important. Now let me get let me get to the other. So Jill Stein here speaking to conscience. Hey Joe Biden, sending your thoughts and prayers for a speedy recovery from COVID, so she doesn't wish him any ill will. It's a shame that tens of thousands of innocent men, women, and children who have died in Gaza because of you won't get the same opportunity to heal. And she's so dead on right. And this is the reason why this is even an election where Joe Biden's struggling against Donald Trump. He's going to struggle because of his stance on Palestine, which is just, I don't care what he says. It's atrocious. And it takes away from everything he might have done that was good. It is destructive. Okay? Coming back to Warner Brothers, let's get to that. So, Zack Snyder posted this post, want to see Zack Snyder Justice League on the big screen? Stay tuned for a date. He never supplied a date to us yet. But I am hoping that this is the opportunity for us all to see Zack Snyder Justice League globally in IMAX. It's made for IMAX, so I think it should be something that's shown in IMAX solely. I don't think it should be shown in cinemas per se. I mean, he must have a version that can go into cinemas, but IMAX globally, and let it run its run. Let it run its run. I don't understand why Warner Brothers does not get right now the correlation between their stock and their stock price and whenever Zack Snyder does something. Right? Zack Snyder does anything and their stock goes up immediately. I mean, this isn't rocket science, but for some reason they just don't get it. So it is what it is. Hopefully the company splits back into two and we get Warner Brothers Pictures. They're moving forward with James Gunn. And that's where I start giving you guys some messages about James Gunn and what's happening with him since my last stream. It's hilarious. And so that's what I have for you guys. Let me see if I can find it down here somewhere. Oh, there's so much stuff. First, I know I'm still going to go to the James Gunn thing. Don't worry. Same movie, different endings. Right? Jay Restore. Shout out to Jay Restore. Jay Restore 1 at Twitter. So you have Zack Snyder's Justice League here. You have Zack Snyder's Justice League Emerald Edition. It's 2 different endings. We would love to see it. We would love to see it. You know what I'm saying? We would love to see that. Of course, Brad Curran. Brad Curran says this. The Russo brothers are in talks to direct Avengers 5 and Avengers Secret Wars. And Brad Curran is like, so I'm going to be that guy? Who's going to say it? I'm not going to say it. He's saying Zack Snyder should return to Warner Brothers Pictures to direct Justice League 2 and 3. That's what he's basically saying. Snyder Graphics says perseverance is optimism. Don't worry, I'm getting to James one part in a minute. I've been a Superman fan comics for 47 years. I've been for 50 years. And I can safely say Snyder is 100% correct. Zack Snyder on Superman. If you really analyze the comic book version of Superman, he's killed. He's done all these things. I guess the rules that people associate with Superman in the movie world are not the rules that really apply to him in comic book world because those rules are different. He's done all those things and more, and we've shown him doing it, right? I mean, Superman has been killing for over, 80 years now. But the thing about Superman that a lot of people don't get is he doesn't really relish killing. Now, in the earlys, he would say, serve them right. He'd throw a guy through the sky and the guy would land to his death and he'd be like, served him right for, destroying these people or oppressing these people, whatever. So he used to kill. Don't get me wrong, and I mean he felt justified in killing. Shut down planes, crashed planes into planes, and killed people. He did a lot of things. Superman did a lot of things, but what people don't understand is Superman. He always is trying to help the helpless, or he's always standing up to the bully. So that's what people don't get. All right. But through time, Superman, showed his opposition to killing and that he liked more saving people. But that doesn't mean he didn't kill. He killed a lot of a lot of villains and people and stuff. So Superman's killed throughout comic book history. But does Superman enjoy killing? No, he doesn't enjoy killing. He's not that kind of guy. But he was quite a bully, kind of like in the earlys. He's quite a bully. He was a strong man, so he would come in and set order where there wasn't order. And, if somebody was taking advantage of someone, being a bully to someone, he would bully them. That was Superman. Isaiah Simmons says, well, first let me go. Surrender or Burn. New My Adventures with Superman tonight, midnight, tomorrow on Stream on Max. My Adventures with Superman, Adult Swim. So Superman gets controlled by Brainiac, and he's telling them that he's going to destroy the planet. In fact, let me play it for you guys.
Reckoning is upon you. Resist, and I burn your planet to ash. People of Earth, reckoning is upon you. Resist, and I burn your planet to ash.
So, there was a bunch of guys, even somebody who responded to this tweet. And there was another one with My Adventures Superman, where you used to see Superman turning bad by Brainiac. And they were like, oh, we're tired of the evil Superman trope because, the boys and so on. And out comes this, right? And just kind of slaps him in the face. So Isaiah Simmons, he says, so now you're okay with evil Superman because it's not Zack Snyder? Actually, I'm okay with it because the show's actually good. So he's saying that, but the truth is that's what Justice League 2 is going to be about. Superman being influenced by the anti-life equation, turning very bad. You have the Injustice Superman stuff. So it's kind of like an Injustice Superman thing because Lewis gets killed. That's the alternate reality that gets caught back up into the reality where Superman is restored and all of that. So we can get into all of that later, but the point is that, the hypocrisy of these fans. Let's keep it moving. I got more. We're going to get there. So we know that Warner Brothers right now, they're on layoffs and stuff like that, but we're now finding out that they may split. The reason being that their stock is constantly low and it just keeps on falling and falling. So they're trying to really boost the stock by selling off things. And they're realizing maybe they'll have to split up Discovery and Warner Brothers Pictures because the stock is just dropping release the Snyder Cut. He said, guess which Twitter was more outraged by? They were more outraged at what happened in Metropolis than what's happening in Palestine right now. Man, bro, you dead on the mark. Shout out to Release the Snyder Cut. Really love this guy. So we got some updates with the ICC. I'll talk about that in a minute, but let me just get back to Zack Snyder stuff here. And what I promised you guys, that is James Gunn, which we're about to hit right now. But first, Stuntman Mike says, James Gunn's Superman will feature the Jahanpurians who have settled on Earth after the destruction of Jahanpur. So it almost feels like Kryptonians, right? The sister planet of Krypton. The Middle East conflict that was dropped has been repurposed for the Jahanpurians to avoid alienating real-world Middle Eastern conflicts. So I don't know how he's going to do this version, but if he does kind of copy Man of Steel, it'll be really stupid. I hope not. But no really original ideas from James Gunn so far. And Cinehouse really dead on the mark when it comes to the one-trick ponyism of James Gunn. So I don't really look forward to anything he has to do. As you can see here, uh, they're basically the same outfit. Peacemaker, um, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Superman. They have basically the same outfit. Isn't that crazy? So it is what it is. The guy who designs for James Gunn, he's designed all his outfits, and ooh, and there's the other piece of news here. This has in the house saying, "Damn." The executive producer Dean calls Creature Commandos the Suicide Squad and says people won't be surprised with the show, and he goes on to say why. And let me just elaborate on that because some people say they're taking him out of context. So here it is. The full quote is, "It's the Suicide Squad. He's done it," Laurie said. "People aren't going to be surprised by what it is, but I think they'll be really encouraged to see how completely it's going to inform this new version of the DCU, which I'm excited about." The guy just wanted to, I laughed about it because to me it's very funny because the Suicide Squad was a box office flop. Why would you even mention it in the same sentence with the Suicide Squad? Showing that James Gunn is just kind of drained of ideas. It's the same narrative for him. It's always this team thing. It's these odd characters. It's the same thing as Guardians of the Galaxy. He's just doing Guardians of the Galaxy over and over and over again, and he's basically doing Guardians of the Galaxy again with Superman. So, like I said, I'm not looking forward to the Superman movie. And this is why Warner Brothers right now is in the jam they're in. They chose to go the path of following James Gunn instead of restoring the Snyderverse, which in 2021, 1.5 million tweets. And let me remind everybody, I'm going to remind you guys because, it's important to remind people. In 2021, this happened. Unprecedented. Okay? Never happened in the history of Hollywood with any film. After seeing Zack Snyder's Justice League, even before seeing Zack Snyder's Justice League was the restore of the Snyderverse, but this went to a record high of 1.5 million tweets. Never happened before in the history of Twitter. Begging Warner Brothers at the time, it was known as Warner Media, to restore the Snyderverse. Begging them. And we're talking about people, popular people in the culture of the world, with his news anchors, whatever, praising the movie Zack Snyder's Justice League. Praising him. And we had not just Snyder fans, we had the GA. That's how you got so many tweets, because Snyder fans can't make that many tweets on Twitter. You had the GA demanding this. The GA that saw Zack Snyder's Justice League demanding this. 1.5 million tweets, y'all. A record. In China, Zack Snyder's Justice League again broke another record in terms of Western movies, in terms of Western comic book movies, doing even better than Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War over there in terms of streaming. Okay, on Tencent. That was crazy. It's crazy how people streamed that thing. They streamed it like crazy. But yet you wouldn't put it out into theaters in China. You wouldn't put it out into theaters. And now it seems Warner Brothers has changed their mind on that, and they're looking to put Zack Snyder's Justice League into theaters. I don't want to see it in no theater. I want to see it on IMAX. That movie was made for IMAX. I don't care about theaters and cinemas. I want to see it as it was meant to be seen, in IMAX. It was made for IMAX. That's what I want to see it in. I don't care about the theaters. The theaters it wasn't designed for theater. It was designed for IMAX. So put it out in IMAX. And I hope that David Zaslav is scrambling to get money here and there and everywhere. I hope he would listen to Abdi and DeLuca and let them. James Gunn can do whatever he wants, but let them put Zack Snyder's Justice League out into theaters globally. And like I said, do not put it out for just a week or some short frame of time. No, put it out because it never was released into cinemas globally. Put it out globally into cinemas and let it run like a normal movie. Okay, put it out there. Let's see what happens. I bet you their stock starts to rise. I bet you that old movie, that movie's now, it was released in 2021, so it's now three years old. Okay, that 3 year old movie, I guarantee you, is going to perform because there's a demand for it, and there's a demand for this universe to continue. And you're going to find that these so-called Snyder fans, or these fans of DC that like serious content, you're going to find them running to things like Amazon Prime to see Batman, the Cape Crusader. Got my interest long time. Long time. I'm definitely. You got Bruce Timm doing this shit, and let me just say, produced by Matt Reeves and J.J. Abrams. Kudos to them attaching their name to Bruce Timm's project, because Bruce Timm is really the guy here. Love it. Okay. Terminator Zero is supposed to have a series on Netflix. Gonna be there watching it. I got my subscription to Netflix. I'll be watching that. Right? We got Twilight of the Gods. Gonna be there first day. Yeah, it's a Zack Snyder project, but it interests me. Okay? Definitely going to see the director's cut of Rebel Moon. That interests me. Okay? Rebel Moon interests me much more than The Acolyte, which is just, people are trashing that thing. I saw pieces of it and I understand why they're doing that. Okay? So when you consider these things, this is why I believe that restore the Snyderverse is the way to go. Hands down. Hands down. Let's keep it moving. By the way, I really want to show this because I think I should. So I'm going to really show it here. Just in case you guys don't get the memo. Let me blow it up a little bit if I can. Yes. So in Warner Brothers Pictures, Warner Brothers Discovery, whatever it's called, in its 5-year history from 2017 to 2018, I would say, all the way up to where we presently are, which is 2024. I want to show you guys something. So the stock for Warner Bros. Was around about $25 per share. Okay, 2017 and so on. Now it spiked in 2021. It began in 2020. Okay, it started September, October of 2020, and that was after the first teaser came out of Zack Snyder's Justice League. It started to rise, and it rose and rose and rose. We had Wonder Woman movie there, and it rose and rose and rose, and it rose. It got to almost an all-time high with Zack Snyder's Justice League's debut on HBO Max. They launched HBO Max with that, and it reached $77 a share. It peaked on the if I'm not mistaken, it was the 21st of March of 2021. Okay. On the 22nd, Ann Sarnoff made an announcement that no longer will there be sequels to Zack Snyder's Justice League. There will be no sequels. There will be no release of David the Ayer cut. And she said that toxic fans out there who are toxic, it's not going to be tolerated by Warner Brothers. She said all of that. And she just took the steam out of everything. All that momentum that was going upwards, all of a sudden it was knocked out of there. Knocked completely out of there. And the sad thing about this is this. That all that goodwill that built up from September, October of 2020, in the COVID, mind you, to that point, was lost. And Warner Brothers share value dropped significantly within the next 3 months to below $25 a share as it normally was. And today, it stands at $8 to $7 a share. It has been tumbling downwards in a downward spiral since Ann Sarnoff's announcement. Okay? So I thought I would bring that up. I'll bring that up. Once again, just remind everybody, what's up? So I wanted to share that with you guys because James Gunn doesn't bring anything that brings excitement to DC. Zack Snyder says one thing, and that makes news all over DC. Okay, let's get back to something else that I need to speak about, which has to do with this is actually huge, and I gotta get to it. Let me see if I can get to it here. So hold on a second. I'll come back to this in a minute, but first, this is more important. I saw it somewhere. Let me just make sure. Yeah, here it is. Okay. No tech for apartheid. A statement from Google workers, No Tech for Apartheid campaign on Google's announcement of a massive 23 billion investment in Israeli tech startup, as Wired investigation confirms Project Nimbus's active role in the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza. Okay, I'm going to actually go into this here. So this is a statement from Google workers, No Tech for Apartheid. I'm going to go into it here. This is very important for you guys to check out on what you can do because Google's everywhere. I have an Android phone, so to be able to boycott Google is going to be very difficult because there are many apps that Google. There's something called Google Plays, which deals with a whole bunch of apps to download. So you have to use Google Plays. You have also Google search engine. You have Google Chrome. You have Google. All right. There's a lot of Google stuff. So I'll try my best to show you guys how we could boycott Google to make them realize that the customers that they are getting their monies from, Google, I think Google even runs ads on YouTube. Google's everywhere. All right. But I'm going to give you guys a couple ways how you can boycott Google and how you can effectively send a message to Google. No, you need to stop that investment into the genocide in Gaza that you are using. Project Nimbus. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, this is pretty long. I don't want to go into that one. I'll go into this one right here. This is what I'll use. So over the weekend, Google executives announced that they're planning to invest a staggering $23 billion in Israel cloud security startup Wiz, heralding the corporate's single largest investment in an acquisition. Wall Street Journal, near $23 billion deal with cybersecurity startup Wiz. Google's growing investment in Israel, despite the state's ongoing genocide in Gaza, which has so far led to the murder of over 186,000 Palestinians. It's about 200,000 Palestinians now, which is almost about 1% of the 10% of the population, is a major slap in the face of the growing masses of Google workers across the globe who have clearly stated their opposition to the company's business with Israel's genocidal apartheid state and support for Palestinian liberation. Google's announcement of a massive investment in an Israeli cloud security firm comes as a bombshell expose from Wired yesterday morning, confirming that Project Nimbus, Google and Amazon's joint $1.2 billion cloud contract with the Israeli military and government, is inextricably linked to the Israeli occupation forces, and more specifically, its current genocide in Palestine. In February, 5 months after Israel began its genocidal campaign in Gaza, the head of Israel's National Cyber Directorate, Gabby Portnoy, credited Project Nimbus technology for aiding the genocide. Phenomenal things have happened in battle because of the Nimbus public cloud things that are things that are impactful for victory, Portnoy said. And this is Portnoy you're seeing on the side there, Israel's National Cyber Directorate and war criminal Gabby Portnoy. He also said that Google and Amazon have been working partners on creating a framework of national defense, calling it the Iron Dome of cyber, a reference to the Iron Dome, Israel's missile system. Last year, Omri Nezer, head of technology infrastructure unit at Israel's Procurement Administration, posted on LinkedIn about a conference aimed at different government offices within Project Nimbus. He mentions panelists including an IDF representative and the head of engineering IT for Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, which Wired describes as a defense company originally created as a research and development country for the Israeli military. Omri Nezer, war criminal and head of technology infrastructure unit at Israel's Procurement Administration. In June, 8 months after Israel began its genocidal campaign in Gaza, an Israeli government document was published about Project Nimbus, name-checking the Ministry of Defense and the IDF as Nimbus customers who will get access to digital marketplace of services they can access under Project Nimbus. Despite the company's continuing insistence that Nimbus is not directed at military applications, the evidence continues to speak for itself. Multiple Israeli government officials, in addition to official reports from the Israeli government and media, confirmed that Project Nimbus not only includes the Israeli occupation forces as a client, but Google and Amazon's Nimbus capabilities are specifically being used in Israel's genocide in Gaza. Google executives are shameless genocidal profiteers, and their commitment to being the backbone of a war machine is by design. They obscure their complicity because they know their actions will alienate workers. This investment is an escalation by executives to double down on their partnership with Israel and the genocide it's committing in Gaza. Enough is enough. Google is only able to function because of us, its workers. We do not want our label to be used for genocide and apartheid. Google execs are few and we are many. We are committed to escalating our organizing commensurately. Sundar Pichai, genocide profiteer and Google CEO. Thomas Kurian, genocide profiteer and Google Cloud CEO. Two Indian guys from India. Google is a military contractor and genocide profiteer. Google CEO Sundar Pichai is a genocide profiteer. Google Cloud CEO Thomas Kurian is a genocide profiteer. So India has already we know has been working with Israel in this genocidal campaign, and Google is against that. They name drop these two people, the workers in Google, but we also can start boycotting and boycotting Google to make them turn to stop their stance. Now, how can we go about doing this? I'll tell you, Google's everywhere, like I said before. So what we can do as clients of Google that supply money to Google is the following. First thing I did was I got Firefox. I use Firefox to search the web. When you're searching the web using Firefox, the following things you will have options. There's a slate on the side of Firefox where you can use the Google engine, Bing, DuckDuckGo, eBay, Wikipedia, book, and so on. So you can probably use some other search engine instead of Google when you want to do these things. Now, when it comes to downloading apps, you may have to find an alternate app downloader to use your apps. Now, the other thing I would say is YouTube, which I'm using right now, is again another Google company. It's under Google. What you can do again here is you can use some other supplier that can be used for streaming. There are different streaming apps you can use for streaming, different video apps you can use to put on videos and to use access the internet through those. So you'll have to find alternate sources. I haven't found it yet, but I'm willing to do so. And we can start doing away with Google and showing them that we're not dependent on Google. We can use something else. Okay, Firefox is free. It's a pretty good app. It works pretty well. I do my search engines now on Firefox. So you guys can use Firefox. Of course, Firefox has Google in one of its search engines, but you don't have to use Google. You can use something else. All right. Bing is not a good idea because Bing is linked to Mr. Gates, Bill Gates, which is linked to MSN. You don't want to use Bing. So you can use DuckDuckGo. You can use a number of other search engines which are separate. So you can go ahead and look up those. And I believe DuckDuckGo doesn't have any affiliate with Bing. Hopefully it doesn't. There's several other search engines that are just as effective as Google and actually give you better searches. And so if you want to go through that listing and get some available searches, I'm willing to engage you on that. Okay. For some reason, I'm not seeing anybody watching my feed. It could be that this feed it's not terminated. Oh, there's somebody there watching my feed. Okay. My feed hasn't been terminated, so that's good. But I just thought I'd tell you guys as consumers, because you guys, again, consume Google products, that you don't have to use Google. You can use something else. All right. So that's another piece of information I thought I would get to you guys, so you guys would know about this and be aware of it. No Tech for Apartheid is a Jewish organization. Like I said before, there are Zionist Jews who are pushing an agenda, and Zionists, right-wing Zionists, left-wing Zionists, etc. and you have the Jews who are pushing back. Okay, so just remember that. Okay, let's get to a bunch of other things I need to do. One of them is to do with Jill Stein. I want to show you guys a couple things with Jill Stein. Oh, by the way, the Israelis um, bombed a number of people in the Al Mawasi area of Gaza. Okay, it was very, very deadly. They bombed the area, and actually, there's a lot. So this is just out there. This happened today, by the way. Well, it didn't happen today. Sorry, my bad. And also the worldwide response. This is Oslo, Norway, where hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters marched through the streets of Oslo today. Lush is selling a watermelon soap. The profits will be used to provide mental health services and travel counseling to the children in Gaza and the West Bank. Well done, Lush Ltd. Check them out. Support them. We have still some schools in Gaza. We have other places like in London, United Kingdom, with thousands of Palestinian supporters formed a human chain around the UK Parliament, calling on the government to stop arming Israel and end the ongoing genocide. So civilians are taking action. Okay, we talked about Oslo, Norway already. I talked about Jill Stein already. So for those of you who support the end of hostilities in Gaza, and also, excuse me, you support a ceasefire, and you also support the end of the occupation inside of Palestine. For those of you who do so, remember Jill Stein is your candidate to go to. That's your default operation. If you live in Michigan, you vote Jill Stein. Wherever you are, if you're disgruntled with what the Biden regime, and that includes Kamala Harris and all those other people who did not speak up. Bernie Sanders spoke up. You know, I don't know if Bernie's on any card for any election, but Bernie should be part of the Green Party. That's where he belongs. And Cornel West. I'm just gonna say it right now. Those two guys belong in the Green Party. Period. Canadians for Justice and Peace says anything you can do to throw sand in the gears of genocide, you should do it. And in that context, trying to pressure this award to break up with a company is investing in Israel's weapons maker makes perfect sense. I got a bunch of stuff. You cannot commit genocide and then hide behind anti-Semitism, and the Holocaust. And here they are. The Israeli military proudly published this footage of a direct bombing of a cart pulled by a donkey, killing civilians in Gaza. And you just witnessed that. This kid had Down syndrome. They put a dog on him. They pulled away the rest of the family and let the dog kill the kid. Okay, this is Dr. Jill Stein. In this November, there will be 5 candidates on the ballot with a path to 270 electoral votes, but only R stands for progressive policies that people are hungry for. Your donation fuels our anti-genocide, pro-people, pro-planet campaign. Support us here at Jill Stein 2024. And here you can see the candidates' policy positions. I do believe Oliver not only wants to end the Gazan genocide, not only wants to have ranked choice voting, not only wants legal status for immigrants, but I do believe he also wants to cut military spending. Not by 50%, though. Now, Robert Kennedy is also of the mind to cut military spending by 50%. But Oliver's really, I think he's been very consistent in his policies as well. But Jill Stein is about no corporate money in politics. She definitely wants to end the Gazan genocide, which she will get. Medicare for all, again, that's a really good thing. Canada does that. Barack Obama tried to push that into existence. I think it's possible for Medicare for all, but what I would say is this. I would say you can't exclusively have that. It needs to have, other options. And Barack Obama really tried to push that through Congress, and I think Jill will be able to push the needle a little bit more. 25% minimum wage, I think that can happen. Cancel student debt. Bernie Sanders was working on something like that, and I think she can get through with it. Again, that was something from the Green Party. The Green New Deal is something that the Green Party was pushing. Bernie Sanders was trying to push it. I think it can happen. Build 15 million new homes, ranked choice voting, reparations. So she's all about reparations as well. and that's that's a very difficult topic, and I think that's something Black people should watch at, Native people should watch at, community control of police, community policing, in other words, legal status for immigrants, and cut military spending by 50%. I think some of these goals are attainable, but she's going to have to be really strong on that to get that through Congress, particularly depending on whether she has any kind of majority at any kind of, you know. But what I would say is she is a very possible candidate for president. The environment today, with what's happening in Palestine, will really push her over the edge. I think a lot of um, Muslims and a lot of people who are immigrants will want to vote Jill Stein on this topic. She's a sincere politician. She's not like one of those, you know, easily bought out politicians. So that's what I like about her. Um, yeah. So that's her positions on some of the things. There's a lot more things to talk about, from employment and homelessness. Homelessness is a big issue right now in the United States of America. They're using these fake figures, but homelessness is a serious issue in the United States of America right now. A lot of people don't have homes; they just don't, because of the housing crisis in 2008 and several other things that happened. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. This is just what is happening. There's no middle class. The middle class is vanishing. So I don't know. This is anyway some of her policies. She has a lot of more policies. You can go check out her stuff on her webpage. I support her, even though I'm not American. Benjamin Rubenstein says, as a Jew, I don't give a fuck about Israel. It could go away tomorrow. It wouldn't impact my life in any way. And he's right again. And of course, we're going to talk about several people who have been cleared and so on. But this is breaking news. Breaking news. Israel's Knesset formalizes what has obviously been the policy of the government, just in time to humiliate POTUS before he meets with Netanyahu in Washington, in the White House, before the Israeli PM likely humiliates Biden further in Congress. They passed a resolution against the establishment of a Palestinian state, so they don't want a two-state solution. However, Palestine is recognized by 143 countries worldwide as a state. Noah, he's using you. Families prepared to protest Netanyahu's Congress speech, pleading rescue the hostages. So they're telling the hostages not to go to Netanyahu's Congress speech because he's just trying to use them for leverage. Saudi Foreign Ministry says we contend the targeting of Al Rasi School in Norisat and the Al Atar area in Khan Yunis. We renew our rejection of the continuation of Israel genocidal crimes. Oh yeah, Rebel Moon will be in San Diego Comic Con, so that's kind of cool. Let me see if I can find more here. As you know, yes. So another thing is the ICC is supposed to release arrest warrants for Netanyahu and Gallant in 2 weeks' time. Now, Germany tried to block it. They've been trying to block this, but I believe they're really going to go through with it. They're going to implement those arrest warrants. Yeah. Someone attacked J.K. Rowling, and she just said, "Who are you?" J.K. Rowling, the person responsible for the Harry Potter novels. The Israeli ordered 760 million in weapons from Albit alone in 2023, now double that in 2024, enough to commit 10 genocides. Now, do you get it? And the other thing about it is not just the genocides, but the fact that their soldiers are just wasting ammo. They just be firing at civilians, or they say they're bored and they're just firing at stuff. Hamas has knocked out a lot of their tanks. They've lost a lot of money. Their economy is in ruins because a lot of the reservists that went there, they actually worked to keep the economy alive. So this war has been destroying Israel. You know, they've been depending now on money. Tess Yukum so correctly said, "Why are we letting a foreign government buy our congressional seats?" APAC Super PAC has spent $4.6 million on a race to unseat Representative Cory Bush, a Democrat, so far. So yeah, this is the problem, and this is the problem that Robert Yates was talking about. Okay, the World Health Organization has registered more than 1,000 attacks on healthcare facilities in the occupied Palestinian territory since October 7th. These war crimes leave Palestinians without medical care at a time when they urgently need it. The BBC News forced to change headline after backlash. So your boycotting and your sanctioning and your comments, really your overwhelming comments, force these companies and organizations to have to change their headlines. So the BBC started with the lonely death of a Gaza man with Down syndrome. To Gaza man with Down syndrome attacked by an IDF dog and left to die, mother says. This post replaces the earlier version in order to update the headline and more accurately represents the article. So, yeah, I mean, you guys have power. You have a lot of power, and you must use it. Use it, okay? Um, let's get into something else. Again, release the Snyder Cut says, when will enough be enough? Bombing tents and burning people alive, decapitating babies for what? This is terrorism. It must end now. Shout out to my boy. Release the Snyder Cut. Okay. So there's the warrants. This is in Barcelona, Spain, where the people are shouting "Free Palestine," blowing their horns. Okay.
I'm standing where Abdel Fattah al-Sharif was executed on video while laying on the ground.
Okay, so here now, the New York Times reports that Israeli military leadership hopes for a ceasefire with Hamas. It cannot fight on two fronts. The Israeli military leadership hopes to reach a ceasefire in Gaza, even they said Gaza, even it would allow Hamas to partially remain in power in order to focus instead of on the cross-border fighting with Hezbollah, the New York Times says. So they obviously they can't maintain it. They've lost the war in Gaza, quite frankly, and they're losing the war against Hezbollah right now. I mean, they're gonna lose, and they're gonna lose bad. They're already losing really, really bad. For people who don't know, here's an example of them shooting in the head a Palestinian. Just killed the guy for no reason at all. Just power hungry, power drunk, and they go into that. Okay. Russia's providing aid to Palestine. There's a demand to arrest Netanyahu when he arrives in the capital on July 24th. Nina Turner, one of the Snyder fans, says there's still a U.S.-funded genocide being carried out in Palestine. Ray Fisher is in the same mind as us as well. Howard Beckett talking about the war crime that is committed here by Gallant. Right, just reminding us of what he said. Ronaldo is supporting Palestine, by the way. Spain's MP, she talks again about supporting Palestine and the Palestinian people. Did I forget anything else here? Empire Alliance says Trump and Biden are equally awful. They both work for the same bosses, Wall Street, the Pentagon, and Israel. I'm voting for Jill Stein. How about you? And I agree. I think all people should vote for Jill Stein, particularly on this Gaza issue. Remember when Israel bombed the first UN school in Gaza and the world wouldn't believe it? Israel is now destroying all schools and hospitals in Gaza. So we've got people all around the world here. We have in Dublin, Ireland, they have the child, Hind Rejab, who is in a mural on a wall. Okay, we have this famous singer, Irish singer and songwriter, Hosier calls on his audience to keep pushing for free Palestine during his sellout concert in Scotland. So it's really big. Now this is really cool. So this is what I wanted to get to.
Project 1.6
This woman is
trillion
this
in
lady
oil
is Jewish,
funds,
by the way.
as Israel lost 46,000 businesses and 25 billion construction project. 1.6 trillion in oil fund. As of this moment, 50% of Israeli startup companies are 6 months away from declaring bankruptcy. Israel economy is taking such a hefty loss by individual and organization level BDS campaigns. We're not even talking about the governments. While BDS is campaigning against genocide, the Zionists are campaigning against pens. They saw a Delta airline flight attendant wearing a pen just like this one, and they launched their own campaign because they were terrified. That we're terrified too. These people should not fly. Hours after that tweet, a BDS campaign was launched and Delta apologized. That's the kind of power that you see when people are genuine about their solidarity and allies, not have APAC pumping money into their pockets. At any point that you feel helpless watching this genocide, just remember, this is not a pep talk. You do have the power to divest, sanction, boycott, and dismantle this genocidal apartheid state. Israel lost 46,000 businesses and 25 billion construction project. 1.6.
So I want you to understand you have the power. You have the power. You have the power. You're not a pawn on somebody's checkers or chessboard. You're not. You have the power, and this is where democracy really works, to change and shape the future of wherever you live. So when I tell you, yeah, Google, we use Google for a lot of things, but you can boycott, divest, and sanction on Google. You can boycott, divest, and sanction on the Democrats and the Republicans who have not represented you properly. And you can go for a third party, which is Jill Stein. And she can just rise out of nowhere and win the elections. You got that power, y'all. And you need to use it. Now, the thing with Jill Stein is she has to be open to the fact that individual states should have autonomy to do what they need to do. Federal government is not supposed to be such an oversight of individual states that it has so much power to do certain things that the individual states can't do. The power must be given back into the hands of the people. And it's not through the federal government, but it's through individual states that power will have to come back. What people are doing right now, what the world is doing, is showing what democracy is. Because it's coming from the grassroots people. The leaders are bought out. The leaders are corrupt. And if you guys really want to have a leader that's not corrupt, then you have to look at people like Republican Thomas Massey. You have to look at people like Bernie Sanders. You have to look at people like Jill Stein. You have to look at people like Ocasio-Cortez. And Ocasio and Bernie Sanders, they need to stop this bullshit about what's his name? Joe Biden. You can't be rocking with this dude right now. You shouldn't be rocking with this dude right now. Why? He's not fit to lead right now. He needs to get out the race. Now, you guys may be Democrats and you have an affiliation to them, but you have to be able, if you didn't take that lobbying money, you're not supposed to be talking like those other people. Not supposed to be talking like those other people. Okay? And yet, you saying Donald Trump's a threat, and Donald Trump's a threat, and Donald Trump's a threat. Well, if Donald Trump's a threat, what do you have as an alternative solution to that threat? And if your alternative solution is not a free Palestine, if your alternative solution is not to address homelessness in America and the fact that a lot of people are still struggling day to day in America, and this fallacy of COVID coming back around the corner to try and isolate people and destroy them, if you can't fight back against that, we got to pick Jill Stein every day, all day, 24/7, because that's the only person that seems to make sense out of this whole thing. Okay? You guys need to understand that those days are behind us. The world has gotten smarter. The gulf or the distance between America and other countries has gotten smaller. Okay? China is the economic power of the world right now. It's just what it is. It's not America anymore. The military power of the world is Russia. They don't say it, but they are. It's not America. You're not the smartest country in the world. You're not even the best business country in the world anymore. But that doesn't matter. You still have certain principles. And if you can live up to those principles and the people can be represented in your country by what they're saying on the ground, however it is that they're represented by that, then you've done your job. And that's something other countries can mirror. But if you don't do your job and you're letting corporations and you're letting lobbyists infiltrate and corrupt your politicians at the highest level, corrupt and infiltrate your justice system, nobody's going to look to you anymore. They're going to look to something else to get the best in humanity. Because you're just showing you're just as corrupt as banana republics out there. You're just as corrupt as socialist schemes, as czar schemes, as dictatorships. You're just as corrupt. Why should anybody follow you? So it's really a serious situation right now. And the rest of the world can see through you like nobody's business. But it's so interesting, and I really want to give them props. The Jews keep on leading the way in this resistance against fascism. It's the Jews. They're a blessed people in that respect. The Jews are leading the way in this charge to get the ceasefire, to end the occupation. You look at it, it's Jewish people. This lady here is probably, I don't know if she's Jewish, but she looks, I don't know if she's Jewish, but she could be Jewish again. And it's the Jews who come up with these interesting ideas. Shout out to the Jews. And shout out to my Islamic brethren as well for standing up. Shout out to the Palestinians for not moving, but standing their ground. And they're not standing their ground with weapons. Oh, yeah, okay, you got Hamas that's standing their ground with weapons and other resistance organizations. But the people, they're determined to go back, inhabit the place, and build back stronger. You gotta love that. You gotta love that. They're in a living hell right now, but they're finding the silver lining in the hell they're in. It's amazing. The human spirit, staying alive, knowing that the whole world supports them, but the leaders don't. The leaders are trying to force something to happen, that this new world order they want. But we have to fight against it. We have to fight against it. As a Christian, I'm obligated to do that. I may not be the best Christian in the world, but I'm obligated to do that. Try to help the powerless and the weak. And that's what superhero movies are all about. That's what the Western philosophy is all about at its core. Caring about people. Something that all of us struggle to do. All of us can be better at. Suppressed News covers this. This is an Israeli soldier, and this is what he has to say. He's totally misguided. He doesn't understand what he's doing. That's why Jesus said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. When you live under hate, you're stupid as fuck. Hate makes people stupid because they can only see their side. Usually it's hurt people. Let's go through it.
Your family. My name is Mickey. I'm a major in the IDF reserves. And I'm also a volunteer police officer in the Israeli police. I got a message for the people of Gaza, for the terrorists inhabiting Gaza. Yo bitches better start running. Anybody who's going to be left in Gaza when we get there, all y'all are going to die. Each and every one of you. Your house is going to be demolished. Your family ain't going to have no place to live. better start running. Before you start running, you better return our people safe. Fail to do so, and we're about to open the goddamn gates of hell on your ass. You all started messing with God's army, with God's chosen people. We buried 20 bigger empires than a bunch of bearded, goat-loving motherfuckers like you. We outlived for 5,000 years. You're just a speck in our history. You just unleashed the biggest shitstorm that's coming your way. So I suggest you leave Gaza and you never ever return. That's our territory now. You're done there. Leave or die. My name is Mickey. I'm a major in the IDF reserves.
So, Mickey, who's a human being just like you and me, is a human. Spat a lot of venom and hate to people he doesn't even know. He doesn't know any of them personally. He's angry at what Hamas did. And that's his source of pain. And he's speaking out of pain. And he's spewing hate. And he doesn't realize that he's being ridiculously stupid and incriminating himself in war crimes just by speaking that. He's not very smart. Because hate, as I said before, makes you stupid. Now, I empathize with him in the sense of this. I can feel his pain. He's shocked at what happened. Israel's not only taken aback by this, but they're humiliated by it. That the actions that these people, how dare they? You know, like a dark side would say, how dare you? How dare you threaten me? Right? So he's feeling both ashamed, and he's also feeling, the word I'm looking for is fearful, because this is an act of terror. This is something that would scare anybody. And so that's how he feels. And so he challenges that into an extreme amount of hate towards a people who did him nothing. The innocent people who did him absolutely nothing. They did him nothing. He's mad at people that if he were to meet them under any other circumstance, he would, and he didn't know they were Palestinians, he'd treat them like anybody else. And it's sad, you know. But this is what happens. So he's filled with rage. And then he starts talking about how superior his people are and how long they've survived and all kinds of stuff. That is cool. I mean, it's nice you have a sense of history, but at the end of the day, that means absolutely nothing if you're going to use that history for evil. See, Mickey doesn't understand he's not the only Jew on the planet. And some of the Jews that are fighting this genocide have a similar history to him and his family. In fact, some of them have a even better and closer tied history to the past. So by him saying this and reacting the way he did, it's not necessary. There are Israelis in Israel, like I said before, who understand why this happened. And they empathize with the Palestinians. Some of the people who were hostages, who were saved, they empathize with the plight of the Palestinians. But we don't get to hear the hostages truly talk their minds and say what they say. Clearly, Mickey, when he said this before the invasion of Gaza. What's sad about this is that he misses what this could have been, what this could have resulted in, and it wouldn't have been weakness. See, war, for all you gung-ho, hot-blooded men out there, war is a failure to negotiate peace. You actually failed when you fight in a war or a battle. You failed. So, a women are very conversational, and it's very rare to see women going to blows with one another and punching each other, unless it's in sports or something. And I know there are women who are warriors or whatever, but even the women who are warriors, they tend to use violence as the last possible alternative. That's why I think Jill Stein actually fits the role of President of the United States. I really think so, because she would not just go to war with anyone. Now, Donald Trump, to his credit, didn't have any wars under his presidency. There were wars internally in the country, but not around the world, which is a credit to him, even though he talks crazy and all that. But I would like to see someone like Jill Stein, who desires peace, see how she would operate under those conditions. She's untried, untested. And I think, again, if you can see the perspective of the person you're talking to, you can align with the ideologies that they have that are good. Take, for instance, this guy here, Mikey. He told us what his name is so we could know who he is. He gave us a little background, but he really didn't tell us he was a father. He didn't tell us about his family. He didn't tell us really about his personal life. So I'm sure once we get to know Mikey more, we relate even more with him and his point of view. I want to make it abundantly clear. We as human beings have to get along with each other, one way or the other. And that's only going to happen if we can see each other's point of view. You don't have to agree with it, but see it. And then look for the admirable and honorable things in that point of view. Because usually that point of view has merit to it, somewhere, somehow. Take, for instance, this. His point of view is, I am defending a territory, a very small territory, for my family. I'm defending that. I've got to make sure it's safe. That's admirable. He's a police officer. He's a military reservist. That's his job, to protect, to keep the peace. How he goes about doing that can be counterproductive. But I get where he's coming from. As a father, as a family, who has a family and has family members wanting to protect them, as a police officer, as a military person. I'm trying to say, Mikey isn't at his core a bad person. He thinks what he's doing is right. He's been trained in a system to believe certain things, and he believes it. He believes what he's doing is right. I want you guys to understand, this is a human being we're talking about. This is not some demon from hell. Media and so on will demonize him. But Mikey is a guy just like you and me, and Mikey wants peace just like you and I, and he thinks the way how he's going about doing things will bring peace and security to his area. Unfortunately, Mikey does not see that some other Palestinian has the same ideals like he does, the same dreams like he does, wants to defend and protect their family like he does. Has nothing to do with Hamas. Just wants to live, keep family safe, protect them like he does. Mikey and a lot of the Palestinian people and families and men actually want the same thing. That's common ground. But we can't get there if we keep on demonizing each other. We cannot get there, ladies and gentlemen, if we continue to not understand where each other is coming from and build on that. That's where dialogue comes in. That's where negotiations come in. That's where we can use our humanity to find common ground and to coexist, because we can. It's very possible. We can. Now, suppressed use probably will use this, Mikey, as something negative, but this can be something that builds a positive bridge back again between Israel and Palestine. We knew that before October 7th, Israelis and Palestinians were able to talk with each other and so on. And now, very less so that happens. We have Palestinians who are married to fucking Israelis, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about the F-bomb, but what I mean to say is we have people who have loved ones in Palestine, who are Israeli, who are Jews. We have Jews that have gone across to Palestine to live with their families, who've been murdered. I've talked about these stories. There are so many stories that you guys have no idea that are under the rubble. There's so much diversity in this world that is lost. Some beautiful stories. Stories that Mikey, if he knew, would inspire him and probably change his perspective on what he was about to do. I feel his pain. I do. I understand why he did what he did. I understand why he would make steps to go where he goes. But when he's calmed down and when he looks at what has he actually achieved after everything is said and done, he has to ask himself, is that worth it? Is it worth it? Does it bring safety to my family? Is my family any more safer than it was before? They always say 2020 hindsight. Hindsight is 2020, right? I ask you guys this question. Seriously. Are there situations and things you look back at and rethink and say, oh shit, I would have do, I now know what I know, and I'm not going to do the same thing I did before. See, Warner Brothers has to understand that. Mikey needs to understand that. There are people in Palestine, just like him, same dreams, same vision, same everything. There are people in Palestine that people in Israel love. Some of them are their family through marriage. You have to understand, it takes a lot of love to want to go into a territory where you will be a target for the rest of your life, to live with people and a family, to no longer be Jewish, take on a new religion because you love these people. That's the other side Mikey doesn't know about. He calls them rats and not real Jews, but bro, they're Jews. They come from the same lineage. But love makes people do different things. So I say all of this to say that while Mikey probably is responsible for war crimes and so on, and maybe a sentence is put down on him in the future, I want to say that I understand where Mikey's coming from. I don't hate Mikey personally. I understand what he was trying to do. Because he comes from a system that says it's okay to do that. He was trained that way. He was indoctrinated that way. But Mikey's just as human as you and I. He's not a monster. Though he behaves like a monster, in his mind, he's not. And that's how the average person can do atrocious things. That's how the Nazis came to be. That's how governments can gun down a whole entire community and kill a whole bunch of people because they say they're going after criminals. I want you to understand, when the general consensus is to demonize a group of people, now they become targets. Now they've suddenly been thrown out of humanity. But that's not how humanity works. You're still a human being. You still deserve fair justice. Even if you broke the law, until you are brought to justice, you're innocent until proven guilty. That's how Western culture does it. It's to preserve the humanity. People's minds can change. Mikey's minds can change tomorrow. You understand? I always remember the Jews, Saul, to persecute Christians, called them scum of the earth, called them rats. Murdered a lot of Jews who followed Christ, including Stephen. He was there. This man, 180-degree turned and became one of the greatest assets to Christianity. You can be sincerely wrong. I've been many times. So I say this to say, we as people can help other people become better. We can. It's tough because we ourselves have to be better. We're all in this thing together. And life is not easy. It's hard to be nice to mean people. And people can do some really, really dark, evil things. Even people we are associated with and may have grown up together with can do some really dark, evil things. Somehow. And it's very difficult. We have to dig within ourselves and be able to forgive them for that and see them as people trying to find opportunity. It's not easy, but it's something we have to do to free ourselves from the burden of hate. That's what I got for you guys. I am Christ I Am Disciple. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. You can donate to via this channel. This stream was brought to you by LIVE Products. Live now. We're live now.